signs, but you understand what I mean. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. So today I'm going to be mentoring you, and we're going to be talking about anxiety and the negative internal dialogue. And then I'm going to explain to you how to have the courage to face it, stand up to it, or ignore it. All of them really lead to the same place, a better place. So daily discipline, we're going to talk about that because that is pretty much the solution. I'm going to go over it. So just give me a few minutes because I went downstairs and got a coffee. I just did some of my daily discipline. I just cleaned the flat. I got up early today, a little bit later than I usually do. I got up about 9:30 in the morning. It's kind of late for me. The other morning I got up at 7, 6:30, etc. Still great. So I went downstairs, got a coffee. There's a local coffee shop that I go, and the people there are nice, so I like to get a coffee, have a little chat with them. I talked to a guy then, a girl, they both work there. They're nice people, so I have a laugh, have a joke. I actually recommend people doing that. You know, when you're out getting a coffee, it's really important. It's good manners, you know, it makes you feel better, and it actually gets you past that internal dialogue. Right, so let's get into it. So this is a conversation that most people deep down want to have, but they're scared to talk about it because I still think in society it's not been fully accepted. Well, it hasn't been fully accepted that people, I mean, yes and no. If you go to therapy, then it's accepted, or if you go to get CBT, or if you work with me, a mentor who's got 12 years experience in pretty much, I'm not going to say every area, but pretty much every area of coaching, mentoring, business, relationships, life, mental health, mindset. And obviously I've lived it in my own life and continue to face the challenges. But generally at large in society, people are not comfortable expressing their negative internal critical dialogue because it can be so horrific, it can be so negative, and for the most part, all of the stuff it says is untrue. But it can feel real when you're hearing it all the time, and if you don't know how to control it. So people feel scared to talk about it and they feel ashamed. And I was the same when I was growing up. When I was younger, I didn't even know where to start because no one around me was talking about the struggles that they were having with their anxiety, which is usually triggered, most of it is triggered by losing control of the internal dialogue, or just, you know, allowing it to really start to frighten you and stress you out and make you feel lonely, trapped, etc. So we're still living in a culture that does that, and that's why there's so much loneliness and disconnection. People don't often say what they feel anyway, because the times we're living in, you know, people are scared that if I say what I feel, I'm going to be shut down, censored, in trouble, attacked, ridiculed. So we've come to that point. But even before that, you know, people don't really like admitting that they feel negative about themselves. They feel like they're giving their power up, etc. But that's not everybody. I'm someone who does talk about it. Many people do. David Goggins is fantastic at talking about it. There's a lot of people online. Obviously, there's people everywhere. You might be one of them. So obviously, I respect that. Everyone's got a right to express their insecurities or not. For those that don't, I respect that, even though I personally don't agree with living my life like that, but I still respect that someone's right. Not everyone is as open as I am, or my clients, or my friends, or people that I look up to, or maybe a lot of you. Some people are just not comfortable expressing their fears and anxieties. It's just uncomfortable for them. They can't do it. So we respect that. But for those people that want to change their life and have a better mindset, mental health, this is for you. So it's a lifelong challenge for me and all of us with the internal critic, because it's there, and if you deny it, then it gets worse. But if you just go, well, number one, it's normal, there's nothing to be ashamed of because everyone has it. So it's not like I'm bad and someone else is good, or they're better than me. It's like, no, everyone has it. And even if you make millions of pounds, you're still going to have it. You could make billions. I was listening, and I knew this already, but just to confirm what I'm saying, I was listening to Grant Cardone yesterday. I respect Grant Cardone. I like him, his work ethic especially, and for where he's come from. And he helps a lot of people. And he was saying that, you know, he's made billions and he's got a lot of success, but he still wakes up and has days where he really struggles. And he said, everybody does. It doesn't matter about what people have got. And I knew that anyway, but it's nice that someone's got the humility to express that. So he was just saying the same. It doesn't matter how much you could make millions. You could live in an 8-bedroom mansion. You could be dripping with material things. You could be a superstar, but you're still going to have that inner critic that's going to say you're not good enough. On certain days you're ashamed, or something bad is going to happen to you, or uncertainties around, or you might get a health problem, or someone else, you know, might pass away that's close to you. That's part of the internal dialogue. It's quite negative and it's very fearful, and it tries to control you and keep you safe, to keep you alive. But the problem with that is, obviously, as we know, if you listen to it and you let it bully you, you have no quality of life, because you're being told what to do by a negative force that you don't agree on. It's not making you feel good. So it's an internal bully, or an internal dialogue, or internal critic. And I don't think anyone, well, most people, because we're not God, I don't think anyone knows why we have it. We understand some reasons, and I know that we have it because it's part of our survival mechanism. That's probably most of it. But there are other perspectives. There are other perspectives that, you know, we don't know. Maybe God gave it to us. Maybe it's part of keeping us humble. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's from the devil. Maybe it's from a dark force. It's the challenge of being alive, the good and evil, and the battle. So there's some explanations that could be true, but I guess society more goes towards its the scientific, and I kind of agree and disagree. I'm open to both. The scientific explanation, which is, you know, it's part of the brain's protective mechanism, and it is a protective mechanism, but it overprotects, and overprotecting actually becomes destructive, and that's why it's not easy for me to say this, but that's why I've lost a dear friend. That's why a lot of people take their own life, because they can't deal with, obviously events happen, external events, but internally they're not coping. It gets to a point where they can't cope with their negative internal dialogue. It causes so much pain that people take their own life. It's sad. So this can become a matter of life and death. Although obviously another explanation, people will lighten the subject, which is good. They're doing what they can do and just say, don't listen to it, which is good advice, but that doesn't always work. Not listening to it is great. Again, it's great, it's true. It might not always work though. Just as I might give you some of my teaching and I know it's true and it works, but it might not always work, because you might be different, you might need a different approach. So you've got to find ways in which you work with it. And I've personally found for me that the more action I take on my discipline, the more silent that voice becomes. And my voice, that internal critic that I have, it gets very silent when I start doing what I love, which is teaching and speaking and helping people and telling people to do positive things like go to the gym, clean their apartment, you know, be nice to people, respect people, don't let people bully you, practice gratitude, appreciate what you've got, work on your business, or, you know, if you're in a coffee shop and the person serving you coffee, don't be rude. Try to, you know, be unselfish and ask the person how their day is, encourage them, you know, have a joke with each other. These little things make a difference. Get present, or go for working out, go for a long run. Running helps with the internal dialogue. It definitely does. And you can actually get to a point, I can feel it right now, where you can create a positive internal conversation. So yes, we've got many different conversations that we have inside us. We've got the natural negative one, the human mind, which is always in the background, criticizing everything or commenting or analyzing, and that sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's loud. It depends on how you feel, what challenges you've got, what your triggers are. So I've got a full understanding of it because I have it and I've studied it and continue to and help people. So, you know, this morning when I got up, my dialogue was going as it usually is. I've got a lot of experience with those, so I clean my apartment, I pack my gym bag, I get ready to work on my business and give value. I went down, got a coffee, and it's really calmed down now. So speaking, positive, you know, conversations with friends or yourself really does silence it and calm it down. So many of the things I found that calm it down are things that are action orientated. They're practical things. And when I was younger and I was getting bullied at school around my area really badly, obviously I was getting external bullying from kids and gangs, and it really frightened me. But when I was on my own, it would trigger my internal dialogue, and I would be scared of my own mind. So I'd be getting bullied by two forces. One external, which was kids at school around my area that were threatening that they were going to beat me up after school, after class. And then when I was on my own, I was frightened of the internal dialogue, the internal critic. And I had to learn to stand up to both. So when I went and stood up to the bullies or got some help, my inner dialogue went back to being calm again. That's what people want. That's a great feeling. People want to be peaceful. They want the anxiety to go away. So anxiety is the internal dialogue. That's what triggers it. Now, on a mental level, with the mind, the negative thoughts that we get, the intrusive thoughts that some of us deal with, which are worse than negative thoughts, but they're still negative, the inner critical dialogue that challenges everybody, depending on how experienced they are, but most people are not experienced with it. They don't really know how to develop skills, the mental strength, the discipline to do it, which is why I do the work that I do. So, you've got anxiety on the thought level, the mind, then you've got it on the emotional level, which really scares a lot of people when it brings up intrusive emotions or uncomfortable emotions, fight or flight. The feeling that you've got to go diarrhea, you've got to go to the toilet, or you've got to get sick, or panic attacks, or feelings of dread, or feelings of shame, or really uncomfortable emotions, or fright. Oh my God, something might happen to me. That's part of what the anxiety does at certain points. So you've got the internal dialogue that's critical with the thoughts, and you've got the negative emotions. So it is good to understand how it works and go over it. And then if you know how the enemy works or the anxiety works, then you're more equipped to defeat it or to have a chance at fighting it. And that's why I say a boxer is not going to go into the boxing ring for a championship fight unprepared. Well, some do, and then they lose and get beat. Most of them are going to train very hard, because if they don't train, they're not going to win the fight, or they're not. So that's why I say you've got to train. You've got to train your mind, your body, and your soul daily if you want to live a better life, peaceful life, any type of positive life. Even if you said to me, you've got all the external things, great. You have a good career, you're married, you've got money, you've been on holidays, but it doesn't matter. Because if you don't learn to manage this, you're not going to have a great quality of life. You're going to have those things, which is an accomplishment, maybe for some people, great, and you can be grateful for that, but you won't have inner peace because you don't know how to discipline yourself to improve that problem, which is an internal problem, by practicing the daily disciplines of cleaning, exercising, eating healthy as you can. Obviously now and then's okay to have some junk, but obviously within moderation, generally running, creating value, giving. A lot of people are not giving because they're not aware of it, and fear can do that. So if you've got a lot and you kind of got everything and you're bored of it, well, what is left to do other than to give to other people that have got less? And it feels good to give anyway. It's good for you selfishly, going to make you feel better, and you can help other people. So it's really understanding how to live a better life. But you're not going to understand how to live a better life if you don't understand how your own mind works, and you don't develop strategies to cope with the pressures that we all deal with on a day-to-day basis. So it's daily discipline. And of course, some days the internal dialogue's fine. We all have good days where we wake up, it's a blessing, and we feel really good in ourselves. But it's not like that every day, and you can't rely on that. So for me, discipline is not going by your internal dialogue or your emotions. Discipline is doing it anyway, is getting into a routine, a daily routine, which is what, again, I live every day, and I enjoy it, and I teach it to my committed clients on the paid programs, and I teach it on the free platforms, because it works and it's amazing. And I learnt this from all my life, but especially having a mental health breakdown and coming back. So I got to before I had a mental health breakdown, I knew a lot about the mind, because obviously I studied my own mind for more than 20 years, and then I coached other people, mentored them, mostly on their mind, on how to get past their fears. But when I had the mental health breakdown, I got a deeper level of learning and understanding that I'm now obviously teaching, levels that I didn't have before. But the experience taught me that, gave me a deeper understanding. So obviously, like everything, you're learning, you get deep understanding, and you learn more, you know more, then you can give more and apply more. So back to simplicity, that's why it's so important. When your internal critic's saying, don't clean your apartment because it wouldn't be a good idea, or it would stress you out, or it's not that important, or it might make you feel more stressed, it's tricking you, because cleaning your apartment always makes you feel better. You might not feel like it. Again, that's the practice. But what would you rather, live in a clean flat or a dirty flat? Of course, anyone in their right mind, a clean flat. So making the bed, cleaning, hoovering, making the place smell nice, showering, it improves the internal dialogue, and you're also doing what it's telling you not to do. So the internal dialogue is always bullying people around, telling them what they shouldn't do or what they should do. But what do you want to do? What would make you feel better? What would be progress? Of course, the internal dialogue might say, well, don't be polite to people, don't be nice to people, because people have been horrible to you when you were younger, whatever the case, or you can't trust people, or everyone is a bully, or nobody cares about you. That sort of conversation, it's like, if you believe that make you have a miserable life. But when you go, no, I'm not going to listen to that, because there's many good people out there, and yeah, some people, everyone's been hurt by someone, and everyone has had someone be rude, and we've all been rude at some point. So you come back at it with a positive, stronger dialogue. So you learn to develop your own dialogue that works for you, rather than feeding into the negative one that is causing you a lot of havoc and misery. So it's, also developing that conversation gets more honed and developed. So does that make sense? We've all got a negative conversation in our head. It's there for our whole life, or the majority of our life. Most people are not fully aware it's there, because to be fully aware it's there, that's facing a big fear. Then you're aware of something, you might have to deal with it. But those that are more aware that it's there, living in more peace, obviously, can actually got a chance now. So it's a bit like, if you live in, let's just say you lived in a very dangerous neighborhood, right? I hope that none of you do, but I did. I grew up, it was a beautiful area, but it was very dangerous. It was unlikely, but you could. Some people got stabbed and died. Getting robbed was a regular thing, especially if you was an outsider. It was horrible, but that's how it was. People didn't have much money, so if you walked through there and you was an outsider, they would rob you. They'll take your money, might take your clothes, might give you a beating. So I was aware of that. I was aware of the dangers. I was aware of who I could trust, who I couldn't. Where was the safe places to go? Where was the unsafe places to go? That awareness kept me alive. Because if I wasn't aware, I could get killed or come unstuck, and I could protect other friends. So sometimes I would meet, I'd have like lovely friends that were from different neighborhoods. I would meet them at school or through another friend, and they'll be like, oh, can I come down to your area? And I'd be like, yeah, you can come to my house, play video games. And then they were like, yeah, you can come to my place next time. I was like, oh, cool. So when I brought them to my area, I knew that they're not from my area, and they're good people, and they're not troublesome. But if I took them to certain parts, they might get bullied or robbed. I wouldn't, because the people know that I live in the area. I could, but they're more likely because they're an outsider. So I'll protect them. That's awareness. That's being decent. That's discipline. I wouldn't take them to parts of the area where I knew that they could get robbed or people could bully them. So I would take them at the safe places. So do you understand what I'm saying now? If you're not aware of the problem, you can't solve it. It's going to be beating you all the time. And most people are not aware of how to deal with their anxieties and their inner negative thoughts and their inner dialogue, because they're not aware of it. They've not been taught, or they've not delved into it. So I wanted to make more people aware. It will help you. And that's why I keep saying, when you practice daily discipline, it makes you more aware of the positive habits in your life that we've all got a chance to practice. The simple things that we can do that are so rewarding, It really is. It's amazing how simple it can be. And I also learnt this from my mistakes growing up. Sometimes not practicing these things, overlooking them because they just felt too simple. But simple things are effective, especially for anxiety. I would say most of the solutions out there for anxiety are simple. They're not complicated. The complication is the anxiety itself. That's what makes people get stuck and procrastinate and get frightened and get depressed and get lonely, because they're trying to add more theory to something that's already got too much. You don't need theory, you mostly need, well, usually to talk to someone, and that's practical, or to do practical things daily, cleaning, exercising, gratitude, basically living. You need to live your life to the full. But if you don't know how to control your anxiety internal dialogue, then you're not going to be able to live your life to the full, because you're going to be stuck in fear. You're going to be stuck in denial, not being as aware, and these patterns, these negative patterns that we can all fall into, that are psychological, emotional, and they can literally be behavioral, where we don't come out the house, we don't socialize, we don't go to the gym, we don't go to the doctors if we've got a concern, we don't work on our business, all those different areas where it can sabotage you. But yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging for me. I've been practicing this for years and years. But that's why I've made so much progress, and my clients have, because of practicing it and challenging myself and learning and having the courage. You need courage. You need a lot of courage to take this on, to take on your anxiety. Anxiety is not an easy thing. I mean, it may be easy for someone who has not really suffered like the anxiety that I've suffered with growing up, and all my clients, and I guess all of you, I'm certain, but they've still got anxiety. I've realized that everyone's got anxiety. No one hasn't got anxiety. No one living, believe me. No matter what they say, some people lie about it, that's their choice. But obviously some people do have worse anxiety than others. So that gives you hope. Then you're like, okay, if there's people that have got less anxiety than me, then that means I can make progress, and you can make progress. I'm living proof. 20 years ago, I couldn't speak on a live stream. I was paralyzed with fear. My anxiety was so debilitating, I couldn't do normal things that people could do. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a relationship. I couldn't go on a date. I couldn't travel. I couldn't go to new countries. I couldn't go to the gym. I was scared to death. I was scared of people. I was scared of dying, being punished, making mistakes. That's how frightened I was, because of my trauma in my childhood, and because of not knowing how to overcome it at that time. So that's where I was. This is where I am now. I run a full-time business. I've accomplished things that I couldn't believe. I've done so many things. I've traveled to new countries. I've made money. I've helped other people. I've given hundreds of public talks. I've made probably more than 3,000 YouTube videos. I've mentored hundreds of clients from all around the world. I've overcome a mental health breakdown. I've lost 40 pounds in weight. I've transformed my body. I've boxed as an amateur. I've met some amazing people. I've been on podcast shows. I've overcome so many of my other fears, cleaning, little things that were a big deal for me. I can speak now. I couldn't before. If I was in a social situation, I just would shut down. I was so shy, I was so awkward, I was such a frightened person. So if I've come from that to where I am now, that gives all of you hope that you can change your life. You can do it. And that's my passion, my story, to share my story continuously with people, and to break my story up into different parts, to stress different lessons at different times, and to give people the truth, the story, and the solutions and the strategies, my experience, both as a human being and a sufferer of anxiety and a practitioner, and also as a professional, as a teacher and a mentor that's been mentoring people for 12 years. I've got a lot of experience. This is a daily occurrence for me. So anyone can do it. But yeah, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It takes a lot of courage actually to admit it. But like I said, I do appreciate and respect that not everybody feels comfortable, and you have to respect that. Some people don't like the gym, and you got to respect that. I love the gym. So it's also learning to respect other people's wishes. So that's where social skills comes in, and just respecting other people. The same way there's certain things that I don't enjoy and I'm not passionate about, but I wouldn't disrespect someone or try to stop them from doing it. I don't know, I can't think right now. So, it's things like that as well, accepting who you are and finding people that have got the same values that you've got, or they've got the same hobbies that you can connect with. So all these things are all part of living a positive life, living each day in gratitude, having discipline, and understanding how to get past your daily anxieties. Because I realized a long time ago, overcoming anxiety is not a yearly thing. It's not a weekly thing. It's a daily thing. Now, I understand in a context that some people, and I've said it, and there's truth in it, and I'll explain that without hopefully overcomplicating it. So if I speak about where I was years ago, or where some of my clients were, maybe where some of you were, you can let me know in the comments. I'm 40 years of age now. We say 40 years young on this channel. We don't use the word old, right? We never say that. Well, the broccoli keeps me young. So if I look back at where I used to be when I was like 22, 23, oh my goodness, I can't relate to that person. I was paralyzed. I couldn't live. I literally was just about living. I couldn't come out my house. Now, from where I was there to now, yeah, I've overcome my anxieties. I achieved all the things I wanted to achieve when I was in my 20s, way before age 40. So that is true on some level. Yes, you'd say, yeah, from where I was. But it's not true to say that I don't have anxiety, because I have anxiety every day like every other human. But I face it every day. And sometimes the anxiety might be mild, but it's still there. But yes, in a certain context, you watch these podcast shows. I love brave people that help people. And the title will say, so-and-so overcame crippling anxiety. Brilliant. From where they was to now, yes. But that doesn't mean that they never now get anxiety. They do. They've just made so much progress from where they were. They built a stronger mindset. They're a stronger person. So the anxiety itself has not fully gone away, and it will never go away until we pass away, and then on to the next. But the courage can improve. So that's what I'm teaching and explaining. You need more courage than you've got fear. Back to the story again. I get a bit cheesy. Excuse me, I'm from the 80s. So the hero and the coward. The hero and the coward have both got anxiety, right? Both of them have. They both got the same. They're human. They go to the toilet, they eat, they want love, they worry about what people think, they've got feelings, they've got emotions, same fears. They're both frightened. But when the battle comes, and it doesn't have to be a real battle, like in an army, but this is a metaphor, it's true. So where are we now? Banana. Good way to start your day. Water or a coffee. Okay, so let's say that's the hero, that's the coward, and this is the obstacle, the fear. So this is what frightens them. Frightened of a cup of coffee, who knows? So there's two humans here, and they're both frightened to death of this coffee. But this is the coward, this is the hero. Now, when they face the fear, the coward runs, can't cope, runs away, it's gone, right? The hero stays, courage fights it. It feels the feelings, feels all the feelings that you feel, that I feel, the panic, the worry, defeats it. He's a hero. But the hero still has anxiety, but has learned to deal with it and face it every single day. End of live stream, I'm going. No, we don't say old on this channel, but I know I'm definitely getting old now. When you start using analogies with cups and things like that, you are old. I remember when I was younger, people would do that, and in my head, I'd be thinking, well, my dialogue, I'd be thinking, man, why are they doing this? It's so boring. They're old, and now I'm doing it. That's life, growing old, Gracie. But we never use old on this channel, the word old. I'm 40 years young. I look, So that's an explanation of what I've been teaching for many years now, and explaining it, evolving it. So you need courage. It takes courage to get out of bed every morning. For all of us, You know, there's the gentleman that serves me this coffee. He always has a joke with me, and I joke with him. And the lady's there, and he says to me, "How was your day? Like, how are you today?" And I'll say, "Today is okay." I say, "Today I'm in the middle. I'm not depressed, which is good, but I'm not really happy, which is good. But I feel I'm in the middle, which is a safe space. And the day could get better, it could get worse. How are you?" And then he'll tell me, he'll have a joke. So I've just lost my train of thought. It's another part of growing old gracefully. So my point being, you know, we're winning together as people. We're helping each other because we both understand that life's tough on all of us at times. Doesn't matter what you've got. You know, sometimes just getting out of the bed's tough. Starting the day's tough. The anxieties, the pressure, being human. So when we have that dialogue, what are we both doing? You know, well, yeah, having a chat, being nice, being friendly, which is important. But we're both kind of defeating our internal critic. We're both helping each other, and that's what helps about. And that's why it's so important. It's so important to have positive people, mentors, teachers, friends, a community. So important for living a better life and better managing the negative internal dialogue that we all deal with. And it doesn't matter about your age, your background, your ethnicity, your status, your class, your money, this and that. That doesn't matter. We're all human at the end of the day, and we all deal with mental health and negative thoughts. So, you know, connection is really important. It's been a good lesson today. So I learn, you know, I feel grateful. This is gratitude. I feel grateful that when I teach and share and help people, I learn as well. You know, I learn through explaining it and getting it out. It helps me to explain something that I understand, but maybe in a different type of way by getting it out and communicating. So yeah, we've come up with 2 ways today. 2 ways to better manage your anxieties and live a positive life, a daily life. Number 1 is to wake up in the morning and make your bed and clean what needs to be cleaned. Leave, go and get a coffee, and then when you're getting a coffee or wherever you go, I'm sure some people might drink coffee at home, but most people go out to the coffee shop. I'm sure a lot of you, like me, I love coffee shops, so you know, I go to local ones. People get to know you there. You see similar faces there, which is nice, and I also go to other ones. So when you're getting your coffee, you know, have a chat. You know, be polite. It makes you feel good. Have that conversation. Be social. It's raining now. Beautiful. So, you know, yeah, you know, all the things that I teach on this program, cleaning the apartment, cleaning your apartment, communicating with people, being honest, being friendly, going to the gym, working on your business or your career, practicing gratitude. I've been practicing it throughout this. I do it in the morning. I'll do an hour of gratitude later on today. So all these things are really important, and you build in daily. You know, you develop this. You develop this over time, basically. But it is true what people say. Like I said, there are different explanations, and all of them can be true. So some people will say, and I've said it, and friends have said it, well, sometimes the best thing to do, it's not always easy though, but we'll go over different things, and we'll see what works for everyone, because it's different times. So some people say, just ignore your negative thoughts. Ignore them, right? And that's like, yeah, that's good advice, because that can work sometimes. Because if you start to pay attention to these negative thoughts or intrusive thoughts or your internal dialogue, then it starts to make you feel worse. It can draw you in. It's like someone saying, I want to talk. Let me give you an analogy, right? Let's say you're a positive person and you want to be a better person, and you wouldn't go online and criticize people and troll people. That's not in your heart to do that. But let's say a bully came along, or let's say you had a friend that you loved, but the friend was negative and was going online making fun of people, criticizing people, and you didn't want to do that. But they were trying to draw you in and you were trying to resist it. But part of you was like, I don't want to do it, but they're my friend, and if I don't do it, maybe it'll be a bit of fun. if you get drawn in and you don't have the strength to say, I'm not doing that, that's wrong. If you want to do that, that's your choice, but I'm not living my life like that. I'm not going online. I'm not going to criticize people. It's not nice. I'm not doing it. Great. You've stopped it. But if you don't have the strength to do that and get drawn in, you're going to get drawn into a negative situation that you actually don't want to be part of. So the mind is similar to that. So that's why it is good sometimes where they say ignore it. People ask me, Jonathan, how do you deal with the trolls, the criticism that you get online? And most of them I say, I just ignore it. I ain't got time for it. I wouldn't give them that. I know how critics work. I understand probably more than they do. So I've got the discipline to not respond to it. But sometimes that don't work. Sometimes ignoring certain negative thought patterns makes it worse. It depends on the person, and the situation. Sometimes you need to look at it and say, hang on a minute, what is this repetitive thought that's making my life a nightmare? That's scaring me or putting a lot of doubt in me. Let me examine it. Let's have the courage to look at it and face it. It probably goes back to my childhood. It probably does, when something happened to me. So sometimes ignoring negative thoughts is the right thing to do, depending on who you are as a person, your mindset, your life. Great. Do that by all means if that works. But for the next person, that might not work. They might have tried that, which is why they need a different approach, which is why I've said when I mentor clients, it's not the same approach for everyone. The principles are the same and the values, but they're different. They're different personalities. So you've got to find what works for you, like I said. So looking at it and then writing it down, which is really good therapy. If you've got certain, I've done this for myself and my clients, if there are certain thought patterns that are really making your life difficult, making you feel ashamed or trapped or scared, write it down on paper. Write it down, exactly what it says, how it makes you feel. That helps a lot. That's good therapy. And then you can come up with a strategy to counteract that. So let's say a lot of people, I would say everyone has this until they deal with it. A lot of people get a certain thought that they're not good enough, and that can be broad or small. And it's like, okay, what are you not good enough to do then? Is it innately that you don't feel intrinsically that you're not a good enough person? Or is it specific? Some people will go, yeah, my thought process tells me that I'm not good enough to start a YouTube channel. People wouldn't like me. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. You're better than me. Others are better. Right. Let's stop for a second. But is YouTube something that you'd love to do? Yeah, I'd like to do it. So you'd like to do it. Yes, I'd like to do it. What are your reasons for doing it? I want to help people. I want to make an impact, or I want to make some money. I want to have a full-time job doing YouTube. Great. So you want to do it. You've got the reasons. You want to help people. You want to make money, or you just would love to have your own channel and have a weekly dialogue with your audience. Yes. But you have a thought. You have a thought and a belief, and your internal critic says that you're not good enough to do that. And okay, what other, and then there's consequences. You have fears that if you do it, you're not going to be liked, you're going to be attacked or criticized, and that's scaring you. So that's when it's good to start to go, okay, why don't you challenge it? Let's challenge it. Let's start the channel. Let's be really, really brave. We can start small and see what happens. See if you don't make it. If you think that you're going to die, or then they make the channel and someone likes it. Maybe you get critics. Everyone gets critics, but someone likes it, and that's not important. You're enjoying what you're doing. So now that you've made it, you've got proof that that's not true, that you are good enough because you're doing it. Now that internal conversation might start to fall off and fade over time. It doesn't make a difference now. Actually, I need to use the toilet. I'll be back.